What's up, guys? Nathan Sutton back with another video. Please ignore the haircut. I decided to go at it myself a couple weeks ago, and I'm still recovering.
You should have seen it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, if you think this is bad, you ought to have seen it, man. Anyway, that's why we haven't made a video in about 3 weeks.
No, it's not.
That's not the real reason, or at least Sutton doesn't think that's the real reason. But today,
That's why it's been happening.
we are coming back at you with Christian marriage boundaries with kids edition. We actually came across an article recently that talked about this, that they made some really good points, and we wanted to expound on those. From All Pro Dad is the name of the article. So let's get into it. What is the number one marriage boundary with kids?
I would say the gist of this whole video, to just sum it up in a sentence, is basically not putting your kids before your spouse, which I will tell you, this whole video is preaching to us too, because we fall short of this for sure a lot. And I just feel like kids in this stage of life that we're in right now are so consuming in the best way, but they are so consuming. Literally last night we're in the car and Nathaniel's trying to talk to me, and Oakland like borderline starts crying and is like, "Don't talk to mama, I'm talking to mama."
I know, because we do this thing that anytime we're talking and they interrupt us, we say, "Boys, I'm talking to mama. Wait your turn." But now he's starting to flip it on me. He's like, "Daddy, don't talk to mama when I'm talking to her." And I'm like, "You weren't talking to her first." So now,
Yeah, so like that's just a point to show that they're even like anti-conversations for us. Like I feel like when we're trying to talk to each other, it is so hard to just have the simplest conversation that a lot of times we're just like, we'll just have to talk when they go to bed because it's just too hard. So anyways, that's the gist of the whole thing, is just put your spouse before your kids, and these are the reasons why and the ways how to do it. Okay, the first thing is that you made your vows to your partner, not to your kids. So that is why your marriage should come first, is because on your wedding day, you stood there, you made vows and promises to your partner that you need to stand firm in and not let those fall to the wayside because you're too busy trying to take care of your kids. And I feel like that builds a good, firm foundation for your kids to grow up on, and they get to see you doing that and hopefully implement that in their own lives when they get older. So you're setting a good example.
Number two is the best thing you can do for your kids as a husband, speaking to you husbands out there, is to love their mother well. And so, especially having 3 boys, I feel like this is particularly important for us, is for them to see me putting her first. And by doing so, they will see the love that me and Sutton have for each other, how important our marriage is, and that me and her are on the same team, you know? And it might sound kind of sad for like kids to think that they're second, but honestly, I think that's the best thing that you can do, is to show them that your marriage is the strongest relationship in your household outside of God. I heard Andy Stanley say at one time that the number one rule in their house is to not disrespect their mom. And I think that's a good way of viewing it too. One of the best things you can do for your kids is to love each other. Show each other that you love one another. What kid doesn't love to see that their parents love each other?
Yeah, I really like this one for the fact that we have boys as their mom, because it also comes with not only like disrespect, but also like honoring. And, you know, if they see him saying nice things to me or speaking to me in a kind way, they are looking up to him. So that makes them want to do that, not only to me, but to other girls. You know, when they find a girlfriend one day, when they get married one day, they're going to say, well, my dad loved my mom, and this is how he treated her. And like, it just sets the best example. So I think it's really a sweet thing and something to be very aware of as you raise your kids. Same thing vice versa. Like if we had a girl, I think it would be important for me to instill things like that for her with him.
And this is not even on our notes today, and you know, some people might have different personal preferences out there, but one thing that me and Sutton have talked about is that we want our kids to see us be affectionate regularly. nothing crazy, but we want them to see us like holding hands or hugging or kissing, just so it's like not even weird, because if you never do it around them and then they grow up and they see us do it, it might be like a weird thing. But that's something that we've also tried to implement.
The third thing is that beyond God being the foundation of our family started with us. Like we were the start of it. We're the foundation too. And so everything should be built on top of that. But we have to keep that foundation strong by investing in each other in our relationship, or else if we collapse, it's like our whole family's going to fall apart. So super important, especially now that I feel like divorce rates are so high. We have to be intentional about investing in our marriage.
Yeah, and we have been talking about whether we should have another baby or not, or try to have another baby. And honestly, that's one of my biggest concerns is like, I feel like, you always hear the saying, you're as strong as your weakest link. But I feel like our family is only as strong as our marriage. So if we have more and more kids, and like I'm seeing that the more kids we're having, we tend to drift apart, then that to me is a big X on another kid. Because like that's how I feel. Our family's only going to be as strong as our marriage.
But this is what I'm saying, to be intentional. Like, yes, when they're around, it's very consuming. They're all so little. It's really hard. We're not trying to make this sound like it's easy, but there are times of the day that we can easily invest in each other. Like when they go to bed at 7:30, we go to bed at like 9:30. So that's 2 hours that we have just by ourselves that we could be investing in our marriage, spending time together, talking, having dinner together, things like that. And date nights, I feel like, are also super important and beneficial to make an effort to do that, once a week, once every other week, whatever you can do. We're having a fourth kid.
Number 4 is that children replicate what they see. So, of course, we want our kids to grow up and find a spouse and have a happy marriage and then have kids and their kids see that. And so the generations repeat. And so that's just something very important to keep in mind, is that as our kids grow up and they see how me and Sutton interact with each other, or especially our boys, how they see me as a husband and a dad, that it's very likely that they're going to repeat a lot of my similar behaviors. And so, not that I'm doing things perfectly or even good for that matter, but
you are doing it good.
But that it's just important to keep in mind that our kids tend to replicate what they see.
The fifth thing is that stress works its way out from the center, just how calm will do the same thing. So I feel like if you're feeling stress within your marriage, then your kids, maybe not at the age they are now because they're a little too little, but they will start to catch on. They're going to know when you guys are fighting or when things aren't going good. Even now, I feel like if we are ever in an argument, we try to not talk about things around our kids because we don't want them listening to that or like being in on that. So we try. But also, I feel like when you're arguing with each other, it definitely puts a toll on your mood. So even if your kids aren't actually seeing the argument, they can see the change in you and your attitude and, like the way that you're handling the stress with them. And I feel like they sense that and pick up on that.
The final point, and my favorite one, is that marriage is a lifelong investment, meaning that far after the kids are moved out and on their own way, you're going to be left with your spouse. And what were you investing in each other all the years that your kids were around? Well, that's what's going to show up when you are empty nesters. And you're going to spend way more time, way more years with your spouse than you are with your kids. So it's so important to have that strong foundation of marriage and, have something there when your kids are gone, because otherwise it's going to be sad days ahead.
Yeah, you don't want your kids to move out and you look at each other and you're like, oh, you're still here. Tell me about you, and have to just kind of start over from the beginning. You want to have that foundation to where when they leave, it's like things are only better, only better than they were when you first got married.
Sometimes you have to be a little risky, even when the kids are around, they might be right outside your door, but you have to.
All right, that was Nate and Sutton sowing seeds of truth, love, and inspiration, one view at a time.
And that was our video on marriage boundaries with kids edition. I hope you enjoyed it. Bye-bye.